A CNG-powered vehicle exploded on Wednesday at a NIPCO CNG station in Aduwawa, Benin City, the capital of Edo State. 3 people were severely injured, including a motorist who suffered eye injuries. The explosion was traced to a cylinder that had been fabricated by a welder without proper approval. The welder has reportedly turned himself in. According to eyewitness accounts, the explosion occurred while vehicles were queuing to refill their cylinders at the station. That is going to make a lot of people very, very scared and worried. But people we need to know more about this.
People are already scared. Forget.
And then this happens.
It just reiterated people's fears. And one of the things Amal West said yesterday, was it yesterday, when we were discussing this, and she just said, you know what, at the end of the day, if we're not careful, you only need one bad press to blow up a good initiative.
Yeah.
And this is just, unfortunately, one of them.
Yes.
But the good thing is at least we were able to trace this to an unauthorized CNG conversion expert.
So this is only the beginning of the segment, but I've already drawn a conclusion from this. If you want to go and convert your car, make sure you go to an authorized dealer, in quotes. Dealer. No, the dealer is in quotes.
Okay.
He's not a dealer. He's a fabricator. To join us, to talk to us about this today, we have the Program Coordinator, Presidential Compressed Natural Gas Initiative, Mr. Michael Oluwagbemi. Good morning, Mr. Oluwagbemi.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us today. We've seen you talking about this, and even on this program, Sunrise, we've spoken a lot about CNG buses and CNG cars, and how it can help, especially now that petrol has gone way beyond the reach of a lot of people. And then this happens, where some people are going to be discouraged, some people are not going to be in a hurry to go convert their cars. What's your take?
Yes, good morning to your viewers, and good morning to you. First, I want to use the opportunity to commiserate with the good people of Edo State, Benin City, with respect to the incidents that happened on Tuesday. Clearly, that was an action that came up from the participation of an unscrupulous element who decided to circumvent the laid down rules and guidelines, and it was quite unfortunate. We know that natural gas, compressed natural gas, is intrinsically safe when properly handled and when properly utilized. We thank God in the case of Edo State that there were no fatalities, and the 3 people that were injured, initially 2 of them were admitted, and now they've all been discharged. But we are already investigating that case. The regulatory authorities, the NMDPRA, had already intervened to investigate that specific case. The Nigerian police, with the state CID, have already taken up the case and have the fellow and the mechanic that undertook the illegal fabrication of CNG cylinder into custody, and we ensure that the full range of the law is brought down on the perpetrators. We do not want a repeat incident. We are learning from the incident, but we already have systems in place to check and to surveil to ensure that this incident does not repeat itself.
Mr. Oluwagbemi, the good thing about this is that people now have seen the danger of going to unauthorized places to have their cars converted. Is your agency or whatever it is it doing anything to ensure that unscrupulous persons, including welders, do not take advantage of this initiative and do brisk business and cause injury to people?
Yes, we're already taking steps. We actually launched, if you recall, in the month of June, we launched the pilot of the Nigerian gas vehicle monitoring system. The aim of the NGVMS is to bring together the four principal regulatory authorities, the Nigerian Automotive Design and Development Council, that is responsible for the accreditation of workshops as well as technicians, the Standard Organization of Nigeria that certifies the cylinders, as well as the parts and conversion kits, as well as even OEM vehicles to make sure that they meet the correct specification and ensures that there are no such incidents. The NMDPRA that regulates the refueling station, which will act as to ensure that only vehicles that are properly converted or OEM inspected are able to refuel at the point of refilling. And of course, the Federal Road Safety Commission that can do enforcement on the road. So these four agencies have been working with us. We've already piloted the system. We are going to be rolling out a program to enable already existing converted vehicles. We already have well over 20,000 vehicles in Nigeria that are already converted to ensure that they are re-inspected and brought into the system. And then we'll provide a period of a sandbox period where people can get their vehicles refilled upon inspection at the refueling site. And then ultimately a period after that, a cutoff period where you only can get your vehicles refilled once you are within the NGVMS. So that process is already ongoing. Of course, regulatory processes have to be detailed, have to be thorough. You want to make sure that you're also not preventing and enabling seamless conversion, given the pent-up demand for CNG across the country. So we're working with these four critical agencies to ensure that we successfully roll out NGVMS before the end of the year. So this process is already ongoing, was already ongoing, as it were. But of course, it's always a race against time and a race against people that are trying to who are going to try to circumvent the process. But I think the most important deterrence here, if you ask me, is that we're going to make an example of these people or any set of people that are insisting on sabotaging the economy, which this amounts to. In this particular instance, I'm working directly with the Commissioner of Police in Edo State. Of course, every accused or allegedly accused is innocent on the proving so in court, but we ensure that the full process of the law is brought thoroughly upon this individual and his collaborators, such that any other person that thinks about doing this again will desist from doing it. And that's what we intend to do in this instance.
You know, you just showed us a number of vehicles right now on the screen, commercial buses all over the place that are already on the CNG platform. And we also know that there are a number of corporate organizations who probably would be using diesel, but have also kind of converted to CNG. But then people use these commercial vehicles with less palpitations or caution. They just get into the bus. They don't know whether it's running on diesel or CNG. They just get on the bus, take their rides, and go back. How reassuring would you say that that is or should be to people?
First and foremost, let me say that compressed natural gas is safer than diesel. It's 8 times less explosive than diesel and 18 times less explosive than petrol. We saw unfortunate incident that happened in Jigawa that we're still counting the dead as we speak over as a result of petrol explosion on Tuesday, actually on Monday. And this often the case 9 out of 10 times when there's a tanker or a petrol or diesel vehicle in a fatal accident, it leads to explosion and fire. It's not the case with CNG. CNG is by far a very, very safe mode of transportation. But like every other thing, any material, you need to ensure safe handling. Even the hydro without the hydrocarbon, I'm talking about water. mishandling of water can lead to flooding and drowning and all kinds of things. So you will not stop using water or drinking water because your relative got drowned or unfortunately got involved in a flood. You need water to exist, and that's the case here too. I mean, cell phones explode all the time. We've seen cases of cell phones exploding as a result of being plugged to the socket and sleeping on it and mishandling your cell phone. And we don't see people saying they're going to stop using the cell phone because of that. So at the end of the day, you have to put technology in perspective. You must use any technology in a proper way. You must handle it in a safe manner. You must ensure that you are using authorized dealers in terms of conversion and in terms of refueling. You must make sure you stay within the guidelines and the law. And that is what we're saying. Ultimately, this compressed natural gas is a safe form of fueling transportation. It's safer than diesel and petrol, I'll repeat again. And that is the science of an heavy-linked hydrocarbon, like in the case of propane and butane.
Just a quick one, Mr. Oluwagbemi.
Yes.
Please explain to us what happened in Benin and help us get a better understanding. One of the things that we saw was that there was no fire. Now, if it was a petrol tank that exploded the way it happened in that fuel station, we'll definitely be talking about so much more than what we're talking about now. And if it was diesel, it would probably even linger longer, that the fire would probably linger longer. So help us understand what happened in the light of what you just, the response you just gave.
Yes, thank you very much. You're very correct. If it were petrol or diesel, we'll be talking about a lot more fatalities. A lot of fatalities. In this instance, there were none. And you have fire. In this instance, this was triggered not by fire. It was triggered by the fact that you are trying to fill a cylinder that should normally be able to withstand explosion and any kind of implosion if it's properly built and fabricated in the standard form and with the standard material. These cylinders are tested to take pressure of up to 300 bar. In this instance, you had somebody just cobble together a bunch of steel in his workshop and decided to fabricate it and say that's suitable for CNG, even LPG, which is, of course, a heavier fuel, but at lower pressure. It's at 30 psi. That cylinder cannot take LPG, what was fabricated in this instance. It's not meant to be fabricated even in the most advanced cylinder factory. We see that cylinders factory that manufactures CNG cylinders are specialized. If you touch a CNG cylinder or you try to lift it, you see that it's quite heavy, super heavy, many, many pounds heavy, because it's made of specialized steel, seamless, with no welding point, and it's bulletproof. In this instance, this cylinder that is locally fabricated by God who knows who the alleged criminal is cannot even take the smallest of pressure. In our investigation reveals that this was the first time this individual was trying to ever do this refuel, trying to undertake this dangerous activity that ended up endangering the lives of others. So it was the pressure from the refilling, which you'll get at a pump, in this case, because the natural gas is compressed, that led to the implosion and explosion, of the cylinder, which is not actually a cylinder. It was just a welded caricature, if you want me to say. So that is the reason why this it was not ignited by fire. It was not a fire safety issue. It was not a mishandling of the fire or of the fire point. Of course, we now need to make sure that going forward that there are proper steps, procedures to ensure that this kind of incident does not recur, including bringing those people who undertook this activity to the books.
Okay, and possibly also even bring them into the ecosystem, because clearly they are interested. They just need more skills. I don't know if that makes sense. But in previous conversations,
I'm sorry. This is not no. To undertake cylinder manufacturing, you will need to invest millions of dollars. This is not for your local fabricator. No, this is not the remit of a mechanic.
Oh no. That wasn't the intention.
Yes.
I'm just saying.
In
fact, the fact that he was interested at all, even if it's just to be cleaning the workshop where they make it, at least he would rent it. But you know, one of the things you said in some previous conversations that this thing that just people just saw on their screens, the cylinder, that there are certain conditions under which things could go belly up. Give us an understanding. One is the one that we are talking about now. Then you also said, you know, in some previous conversations with the press that one of the reasons that there could be a default is if the installation wasn't done properly. For those who would want to go install, what are the precautions they need to take? What are the things that they need to be aware of? What are the risks that they are taking so that at least they are mentally prepared and then they can take due adequate precaution to ensure that those things doesn't happen and their lives are safe and safety measures are insulated?
Yes, I think the first and the most important thing is that please only patronize accredited, authorized workshop. They are the only ones that have the training. They're only ones that are tracked. They're only ones that have the capacity to be able to respond to the technical challenges of conversion. It is very important that these people understand this very well, that they have no business patronizing a local mechanic. So it is important that conversions only take place in conversion workshops that are authorized by the federal government of Nigeria through the NADDC, collaborating with the PCNGI. And you can find out these authorized mechanic workshops or these conversion workshops on the NADDC website as well as on the PCNGI website and those. There are not many of them currently. We are constantly ongoing working with various parties to ensure that we have many of them more around your neighborhoods. We're trying to make sure that we provide and enhance access. When we started this program just last year, we had 7 authorized workshops in the country. We have well over 125 of them across the country today. And under our program directly, we have about 77 to 90 of them as of today, and it's always growing every week. So we are ensuring that we make sure these authorized workshops are available to our people. But please, the technical challenges of conversion, the technical requirements of conversion cannot be undertaken by a roadside mechanic. It amounts to modifying your vehicle, and there's need for retesting and inspection to make sure your vehicle meets the highest safety standards before they release that vehicle back to you. These can only be done in an authorized, accredited conversion workshop. And that is what we are pleading to our people. Of course, we are elevating the game when it comes to awareness. We've been doing our campaign for a while now, but we're doing more of it in view of the incident that just passed this last week. We're also making sure that our authorized and accredited conversion workshops are putting their information out there so that people can access them. We do not want the excuse of lack of access to then lead to folks patronizing roadside mechanics that then endanger the lives of all. In this week, we also provided additional credit for the private sector to be able to access conversion services and then be able to pay that little by little instead of having to pay cash out of pocket. All of this is meant to enhance access and then to enable this industry in a safe manner, in a reliable manner without endangering the life of the population. Ultimately, like I said again, compressed natural gas is safer, it is cheaper, it is reliable, but we must ensure that any material that you're handling, any chemical material you're handling, especially an hydrocarbon, is properly and safely handled to ensure the safety of all.
Okay, there was something we also got, information in public, that there is a plan by the federal government to create a platform where people can pay piecemeal, pay over time for this infrastructure, for the installation. Please tell us about that if it is true.
Yeah, it's very true. We launched on Tuesday, actually, same day this incident occurred earlier in the morning. We launched alongside our partners at the Credit Corps, it's a program of Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to enable credit to finance, consumer credit to finance household purchases. So what we're doing is that we're collaborating with them. There was a launch of the CALM Fund, a 10 billion initial fund that allows members of the public who are members of the organized private sector or employed labor, civil servants, to be able to take their vehicles to authorized workshops and then access these credits to finance conversion. You know that an average person using a small vehicle, a Corolla, will save about 50,000 naira a week. What we are saying is that if you do not have, if you're using CNG instead of using PMS, We are saying that if they do not have the money to convert upfront in their pocket, and they have reliable salary and employment history and good credit history, they can go into this workshop and pay nothing from day one, and rather pay towards this conversion with some of the savings they are generating on a week-by-week basis. They're generating 50,000 naira, and you're being told to put 20,000 naira towards conversion for the next 2 years after getting installed upfront. I think that's a good deal for the Nigerian consumer. And that also, of course, allows them to be able to utilize the savings, which is that 30,000 naira a week, to then do other things. Take care of a child, send a child to school, take care of a sick child in a hospital, and maybe give a ward some kind of seed money to start a business. I think this is the way that Mr. President envisions this economy, an economy that works for all, especially the bottom of the pyramid, instead of working for the few. The long years of paying subsidy, I saw my friend, Senator Dino Melaye, yesterday lamenting that he can no longer use his Lamborghini and his Bugatti anymore because fuel is not expensive. That's what we hope happens. We hope people like him are able to now start to be able to pay for their own bill instead of feeding off the poor Nigerians. Rich people like him should pay for their own petrol.
Mr. Nuwagwemi, in that video that was shown earlier, we saw somebody actually go to fill his cylinder, but he opened his engine compartment, not the trunk of his car, as we saw in Benin. And we saw that his cylinder looked a bit smaller than what we saw in that explosion in Benin. Please, can you just explain all that to us?
Yeah, so it's like anything else. Depending on the type of vehicle, for example, your Volkswagen B2, the engine is at the back, not the front. So every car will have its own particular modification capability. But again, this is a decision that is taken at a proper conversion workshop. Also, the size of the cylinder also depends on the range that a vehicle owner wants to go.
Oh.
Some vehicle owners want to go over a longer range, so they will buy a bigger cylinder, or they can afford a bigger cylinder. If you want, you see some vehicles, for example, some buses actually have 2 cylinders, right? So again, it's about how much range do you want to go in terms of movement. So these are decisions that should be taken not by a roadside mechanic, of course, but at a conversion workshop that is properly authorized. And that is why we are saying, make sure you patronize an authorized conversion workshop so that an engineer, a technician that has been trained to do this, will work with you to make the right decision. If you're a long distance traveler, you might decide and you do not have so much need of your boot space. Maybe you are someone who convey people your chartered vehicle, but you're not the public sector type of vehicle, public mass transit vehicle that carry a lot of luggage. You can decide to fill your entire boot space with 2 cylinders and to get the longer range. And that's the use of your vehicle. So it's going to depend on what you're using the vehicle for, what you want to achieve. And of course, that decision will be taken with someone who's a professional and an expert.
In terms of price, how much cheaper is it to fill a cylinder with CNG than to fill a tank? And apart from that, when a car is converted, does it mean that it can use either gas or petrol?
Yeah, so to answer your first question first, yes, when a vehicle is converted, it can use both petrol and gas.
Okay.
And
it becomes hybrid automatically.
Yeah, it becomes hybrid because that's the advantage of us leveraging this conversion process during this transition, because we're in a transition period. Nigeria is still building infrastructure. We went from about 20 refueling stations last year to 50 today. We're hoping to double that by the middle of by the first quarter of next year. So the infrastructure is still not everywhere. So you still want to have this hybrid functionality. And the reason and the advantage of pursuing the conversion equation and the conversion strategy, because you can maintain both fuel. And the switching of the fuel is actually quite seamless. You will not know you're in the vehicle. After your CNG finishes, it switches automatically to the backup petrol, and then you can get to the next refueling station, and then you can refill your CNG and then continue on lower cost fuel. In terms of the savings, we've seen savings of an average of about 90% because of course, the recent increase in fuel prices. Yes, a gentleman who actually testimony that went viral last week, Monday, from Agidingbi to Ibadan. came in on a 1,750 well, and will likely return back with about equal, meaning about 4,000 naira. And normally we'll do that trip for 50,000 naira. So that's even a little more than 90% savings. That's if I do my calculations right. My math's a little rough, even though I'm an engineer. I think it's about almost 92% savings.
You're now more of an administrator than an engineer, so we can understand that. we really...
With that kind of saving, it's certainly worth it.
Yeah, you saw the viral clip as well. You know, we'll have some private conversations about this matter because, you know, one of the things that I know is that people just need to be assured. Once people can be sure, you know, of safety. Yeah, there's a question that somebody asked yesterday, so I'm going to ask you. How many vehicles in the ministries, departments, and agencies, how many vehicles of ministers, of even the president, or in their convoy, are converted to CNG?
You'll be surprised. That's quite a number of our leaders, including myself. I use the CNG vehicle. The Minister of Finance, who's one of the key ministries we're working with, have CNG vehicles in their convoy. The chairman FRS, who's the chairman of our committee, does not just have CNG vehicle. He also has EV. He also has EV vehicles. His private vehicles and his own vehicle, and FRS is EV and CNG in his entire entourage, including his Nord trucks that are all on CNG. Yes, so and in terms of our MDAs, Nigerian Army, the Nigerian Police, all are undergoing conversions as we speak. The FEMA, we've signed up with them. They're also undergoing conversion. I tell people this. I say, look, every change happens slowly but surely. You did not look to President Obasanjo to use a cell phone before you started using one. So you should not use
Mr. Oluwagbemi, that one is different. That one is different. I'm not driving inside the car. I can drop the phone and go away. But this one, I'm inside the vehicle. Please don't even go there. Oh, by the way, someone is suggesting something to you, Mr. Oluwagbemi, that for those who have converted, they should put a sticker on their vehicle conspicuously so that people can see it and say, okay, I mean.
Yes, we're already doing that. That's the system I was talking about. Yeah.
Okay.
We're doing that on the NGVMS, the Nigerian Gas Vehicle Monitoring System.
Okay.
So you're going to have conspicuous displays.
Okay, thank you very much. The program coordinator, Presidential Compressed Natural Gas Initiative, Mr. Michael Oluwagbemi. Thank you very much for coming to educate us this morning.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Yes. Make sure that you stay with us because we're going to have another interesting conversation in just a moment.